Let's do the Godzilla Camcast.
Go, 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 Godzilla!
Not bad. Not bad.
Yeah.
What's the? Oh, there's that song too, right? Is that the song? Go, 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 Godzilla!
Yeah. There goes Tokyo. Godzilla. Which is a great. In the sequel to Godzilla, Serge Tankian covered that song, and it was awesome. Awesome.
That's nice. That's nice. All right, Geek Pantsers, all jokes aside, this is the Godzilla 2014 Camcast.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta say 2014 because there's what, 30 fucking movies or 31 movies with Godzilla in it now?
Yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts.
And I'm not including the cartoon Godzilla Netflix series, which is supposed to be really good, but I haven't watched yet.
Yeah.
But anyway, so this one is this is a big one, actually. This is a really good movie. So it's directed by Gareth Edwards. Screenplay is by Max Borenstein or Borenstein or Berenstein. It's Borenstein, I guess. Anyway, story is by David Callahan, starring Aaron Taylor Johnson as Ford, who is a EOD lieutenant. Essentially, he's a military guy that diffuses bombs. That's what he does for a living.
That's it.
CJ Adams, a young Ford. So a little bit of a spoiler. There'll be spoilers, but a little bit of a spoiler. This movie starts in one time period and then fast forwards to present day. Yeah. We got Ken Watanabe, who is one of my favorites, and I don't see him enough, and I wish I saw him more because he's so good. He's Dr. Ishiro Serizawa. Now, you want to hear something interesting about this name?
Hit me.
Yes. Just say yes or nod or something. Don't just stare at me. Would you like to hear something interesting about this character's name?
Yes, please, Chris.
So he was named after one of the directors of various Godzilla movies. So the first name is Shiro. And the last name, Serizawa, is the name of the scientist who killed Godzilla in the 1954 original.
That was excellent trivia knowledge.
And you know what? I actually thought it was super cool. I was like when I rewatched this, and I was literally watching it going like, this is totally influenced by the Japanese Godzilla movies. It's totally influenced by other creature flicks. But I loved how, yes, it's an American Godzilla movie, but they literally did tie in the Japanese stuff with it. I mean, even the soundtrack is very much like old school Godzilla Japanese infused music. I was like, oh man, this is so good. Yeah. But anyway, Elizabeth Olsen as Elle Brody, the wife of Ford, not young Ford, older Ford. We've got Juliette Binoche as Sandra Brody, the mother of Ford. Bryan Cranston as Joe Brody, the father of Ford. Sally Hawkins is Dr. Vivian Graham, the second to Dr. Ishiro Serizawa of the Monarch crew.
Yep.
David Strahan, who plays a good guy for the first time ever. I don't think I've ever seen him play a good guy. Ever.
Every now and then, once a decade, he'll pop in.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. He's Admiral William Stenz. TJ Storm. Who's TJ Storm, you ask?
Tell me.
He's the Godzilla mocap actor. That's who that is.
Whoa.
Yeah. Plus a number of actors in smaller roles. There's a lot of them, and I didn't list any of them because there's a lot of them.
It's a huge cast. I was scrolling through on IMDb going, wow, this won't end. I got to see the rest of the crew.
Yeah, I figured leaving it at TJ Storm was a good way to cap it, and that was that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say this right away. I really like this movie. Really, really like this movie. There's really only one sequence I didn't like. So this is mostly This is like 99% likes, 1% dislike, and even that dislike isn't even that big. Before I forget, the budget 160 million, total gross 529 million.
Yeah, and that is
Not
why
the
we have the
smash.
MonsterVerse,
Sorry.
and that's why we have the MonsterVerse.
Yeah, it's not the smash success that they were hoping for, but it did do quite a bit of business for them. So
Yeah, you're never ever gonna have a giant monster movie getting you a bill. Like,
yeah, I know. Every time.
it's never gonna happen.
Yeah, there's certain franchises where Hollywood goes, this will be $1 billion franchise. And you're just like, it won't be. Like,
No,
Godzilla has been around since the 50s, yes, but not everyone's a fan of Godzilla. Like, even I was surprised Michelle watched this with me because one time I brought it up, and she's a huge Jurassic Park and Jurassic World fan.
yeah,
And at the time, she had no desire to see it at all. She was like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
hmm. So she watched it with you,
Yeah, she watched it with me.
and thumbs up.
She liked it. She liked it.
Good.
She wasn't gaga over it,
Mhm.
but hey,
That's
she
fine.
doesn't have to be. She
You-
liked it.
I got.
Although, to be fair, if she didn't like it, it would have been fine too, because it's all preference. But
Yeah. 100%.
Anyway, so yeah, I don't know. Do you want to start or do I want to start?
I'll kick it off.
It's only fair. I mean, I dominated that Royal Rumble conversation.
The new legendary design for Godzilla. I love it. I love the big bulkiness, like the tree trunk legs, and he's actually doesn't have like the little stick arms like some of the Japanese Godzillas have. He's got arms where he can kind of tackle and grapple, and love the new design.
Yeah, I have to agree. I love the design so much because it literally is the Godzilla of 1954, like you said,
Yeah,
just with longer arms, and the spikes on his back are way more jagged and in disarray, but they look awesome. Like it.
yeah.
I mean, like, and it's surprising too, like, because when I first heard that they were gonna do the remake of Godzilla and it was an American movie, I was like, because I sat through Godzilla in 1998, and while I mean I do like the movie, it's not. I think I would have liked the movie more if it wasn't called Godzilla.
That's I think the reason why it gets so much hate, because if you take the name away, it's an awesome, fun monster movie.
Yeah, like it's
just
really.
not
I mean,
Godzilla, right?
it's got Jean Reno in it, so
Yeah,
I mean, how bad could it be?
I
But
enjoy the
yeah,
hell out of it when I watch it.
yeah, I like it too. I like it too. I just it's like the Born Legacy. It's if it wasn't Godzilla, I think I would have honestly I would have loved it a lot more.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
Because the design is really cool of Godzilla. It's like it's not Godzilla. The
right.
second you see it, you're like, yeah, it's not Godzilla.
Yeah,
So when they announced this, I was like, are we gonna get the same shit? And then you see like when I think Gareth Edwards was like, no, it's Godzilla. It's Godzilla, and that's it. I was like, okay, all right.
yeah,
And you were singing Gareth Edwards' praises already
yeah. Because
because of that.
he did Monsters.
Yeah,
This small small indie movie he did in the UK. Well, I don't even know if he did it in the UK. I think he shot it like in southern US or Mexico or something.
I think it was in Mexico.
But yeah, it's a small budget monster movie. It doesn't show a lot of monsters in it. It basically focuses more on the human drama, and it's fantastic. It's so good. So when they said he signed on for this, I was like, that is perfect.
Yeah, I know. You really helped sell it for me, and I was like, okay,
Perfect.
all right. And then, of course, you see the trailers, and you're like, yeah, fucking right.
Yeah.
Okay, so for me, I kind of tried to do it in order. But for me, I loved the opening credits.
That was my next one on here.
I loved the opening. I loved like the music. I loved the montage where they dealt with like old pics of dinosaurs. Then you see like the footage of the
That old
military
black and white
attacks.
grainy footage.
Yeah, exactly. And then tying together like the various nuclear testings,
Yeah.
and they're all trying, like they're actually trying to kill Godzilla. Like all of that was just super cool. And it was a great way of teasing Godzilla throughout the whole movie. So right away I was like, man, that's awesome. And then even the hints of the mythology, like how far back this
Yeah,
guy.
they're showing like these little classified like articles and stuff, and even like the actor names and stuff. Where they're like whiting out things and showing the names.
Redacting them as they go and stuff. Yeah. Oh, that
So
was super cool. It was a
And
great way to do it.
and then the end of the credits where like the atomic wave hits, and then you just get like that ash, and then just like that that ambience like creepy, and then
Yep.
oh, that's
so good.
those are opening credits. So,
Yes, exactly. And another thing I really like about the opening credits is you don't have to watch Godzilla. You don't have to watch any Godzilla movies before that
yeah,
to watch this and kind of get a sense of what's going to happen. You kind of get a feel for it already. And I was like, oh, oof.
yeah,
And because it'd been so long since I had seen it, I forgot all about that intro. So when we watched it again, literally last night we watched it again, and I was like, ooh, admittedly cutting it close. We were going to watch it this weekend, and then I completely forgot. I forgot to, because I had said, you want to watch it this weekend? And she said, yeah, and then I forgot all about it. And then last night I was like, hey, you want to help me do my homework? But yeah, so I absolutely love that. I loved it. I thought it was awesome. It was a great way to reintroduce fans of the character to
yeah,
this version of him, as well as, hey, you're new, jump on in. You don't have to watch any of the other movies to watch this.
yeah, exactly. Um, Next up, I'm back on Gareth Edwards. The direction in this is perfect, and like
Yeah.
between him and the cinematographer who is Seamus McGarvey.
Ooh.
Yeah, I really love the way they put like a human perspective on these battles of the monsters going on. Like everything is like ground level looking up. It's through windshields of cars. It's through windows
Yep.
of buildings. Like it
Yep.
really puts you in that position.
I'm gonna say yes. I love all that. I agree 100% with that. But you see this a lot. He's not like, these guys weren't the only guys to do this kind of thing, but this is an example of when it's done really well.
Mm-hmm.
Like Cloverfield is an example of that style, where it was, because obviously it's fucking TJ Miller holding a camera, right? So
Yeah.
You're gonna have it at a certain angle, and it's gonna be. But the drawback is that in Cloverfield, some of the camera shots made no sense, because you're like, if he's holding it in his hand the entire time, or if it's like chest mounted, which it wasn't, but
Yeah.
a lot of the shots make no sense. So you have to not think about it as much as like I would for some reason. Whereas in this one, all of it makes sense, because you're right. Like, it's from those angles, it's from those shots. It's like very from the eyes of the human, as opposed to from these giant beasts, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's another reason why this movie is so good, because it's not just saying like, oh yeah, look at this big guy, this big thing, they're fighting. It's like, no, we're on the ground floor watching this.
Yeah.
And yes, and I agree, 100%.
Like
So good,
the very
so well done.
first time Godzilla meets the M.U.T.O at that airport, and you just see all that fire, and then the big Godzilla foot come down. Like, oh man, that scene still gets me. I watched this 4 times in the theater.
I watched it only once in the theater.
Outside of X-Men, the first X-Men, the first Spider-Man, I never watch movies more than twice.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because I watched it with you in the theater, and then I watched it at least once or twice, no, 2 times after that, before this particular time. So I watched it a couple of times. It's going to be one of those broken record Chris things where I'm like, yeah, this is going to be one of those movies I'm going to start rewatching more often, because I really, really enjoyed this movie. And it is actually one of those movies where you can watch and be engrossed, or you could have it play in the background and then still just kind of check in from time to time.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I actually, it's so silly, but I'm like, I almost feel bad that I haven't watched it enough. like they don't, these guys don't care at all. Like Godzilla's not like, geez, Chris, why don't you like my movie? Just, but it for me, it doesn't come up on my radar a lot because a lot of times I'm rewatching superhero movies or spy movies.
Right.
Those are the ones that
Right.
I rewatch the most, right? So
Yeah. And for me, like giant monsters are my thing, right? Like
yeah.
I eat these movies. Oh, they're so good. Oh, yeah. What you got next, man?
I've got I love the Monarch. I love the group. I love the idea by it. I love that they were literally created to study Godzilla and other creatures like that,
Mm-hmm.
all because of Dr. Ishiro's dad,
Yeah. Yep.
passing away or dying in Hiroshima. And I like how they tied Hiroshima into Godzilla. Because Michelle even said that at the beginning, she's like, "Was that Hiroshima?" And I was like, "Or Hiroshima?" And I'm like, "No, it's not." I mean, and then in the movie they're like, "It's tied together," and I kind of was like, "Oh, well, shit, I forgot all about that." But yeah, so I loved it. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, that was great. I like the part where Serizawa was talking about his watch and how it stopped at the time of Hiroshima.
And what I love about that part too is that Admiral William Stins literally just finished saying like, you know what? I understand that you think he's a protector, but look, we have to protect us and everyone else from these things. So I don't want to hear it. Then he tells him that story, gives him the watch, tells him the story, and friggin' the guy that wanted to kill Jason Bourne is getting teary eyed, and he goes, and he starts listening to Dr. Ishiro, like, okay, all right, there might be something to this protector of the balance or whatever it was. So yeah, I agree. That part was awesome. I love the whole plant sequence in the beginning. Where you get introduced to young Ford, Bryan Cranston's Brody,
Mm-hmm.
Sandra Brody, Juliette Binoche. You get introduced to that. They're in Japan too. Like this isn't it's entirely solely an American movie. This starts in Japan, which I thought was awesome. And then even though everyone, like even Michelle called Sandra's death, she was like, I knew it right away. It is an easy one to call, but it's still really a great way to start it because something happened, something caused this to happen, and Joe's the only one that knows that it's not just some sort of malfunction. There's something else involved here. And it really sets him up for when you get reintroduced to him later. And this is a guy that's racked with guilt because he has to prove that he didn't kill his wife, that something else did it, right? But I mean, regardless of how well you call that, the second that he's on one side of the glass and she's on the other, it's like, fuck, man.
That scene breaks my heart every time.
Oh,
And like I've seen scenes like that.
yeah.
Holy fuck, does Bryan Cranston? That guy is just phenomenal, man. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I've always been a fan of him.
Yep.
And Breaking Bad obviously showed that, okay, this guy's more than just a guy that can pop up in an odd sitcom every now and then.
You're a good actor
Like,
when Sir Anthony Hopkins watches Breaking Bad and goes, that Bryan Cranston is on a whole nother level.
yeah.
I mean, I play a friggin' cannibal. This guy's an actor. Like, that's crazy. That's high praise right there.
So to get him in this movie, like hands down the best performance of the movie. Every scene he's in, and I love Ken Watanabe. Like he's obviously
yes, I agree.
He's obviously second.
I agree.
I mean, like Cranston. Yeah. Holy shit, man! The guy's just like god tier in this.
Oh, so good, so good.
Oh, but my love for Bryan Cranston in this also ties into a small negative I'm going to have.
Oh yeah. I feel like yeah. I'm going to say this real quick. This one's just a real quick one. We've already touched upon it quite a bit lately.
Mhm.
But the cast, I love the cast. I think everyone is so good. Everyone is so good. There's just others that are better. That's it.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
like
exactly.
yes, Cranston's here, Watanabe's here. You know,
Olsen was really good.
Olsen's really good.
Elizabeth
Aaron
Olsen,
Taylor Johnson is good. Like, but he's not
he's
a
good.
standout for me.
Yeah,
He's good enough. I joked with Michelle. I was like, you know, you can always tell who the hero is in a movie because they're wearing a leather jacket. No one else wears a leather jacket in this movie except for Aaron Taylor Johnson. Ford Brody, I should say. He's the only one.
I still get a kick. I get such a huge kick out of them being married in this, and then brother and sister a year later in each one.
I know it is pretty funny.
It's hilarious. um, yeah, touching on Ken Watanabe again. I again really good in this. I love that childlike sense of wonder with him and between him and Godzilla. Like I have to go
But
check. I have to see this, and
I also love his belief. Like for some reason, he believes that Godzilla isn't a bad guy. He's a protector of no, it's the balance. Yeah, means to reset the balance. Like
yeah.
so when, and I love this too. Massive unidentified terrestrial organisms show up, or M.U.T.Os.
Mm-hmm.
Then Godzilla shows up to fucking take him out.
Yeah.
You know, and he's the guy that's saying like, look, just let them fight. You know, and of course, the admiral's just like, I can't exactly do that. Like that's insane. But then, you know, he tells the story and then he adds to it by saying like, look, just trust me. Like he can beat them. He will beat them. And then that's it. You just have to pick up the mess afterwards. And I really like that.
I actually wrote down the line that he said to the admiral because that is my favorite line in the film. The arrogance of men is thinking nature is in our control and not the other way around.
Yes. Oh, that's such a good line.
Let them fight. And I just like, I get chills when he says it. I'm like, oh God.
Yeah.
That is some.
But I agree that I also love that he has to see Godzilla.
Yes.
He was willing to risk his life just to see Godzilla so he could just go, yes, all right.
To me, that's like when we meet our childhood heroes and stuff. Like when we went to meet Jericho, or I met Stan Lee, like that. Yeah. Like, whoa. And that's Godzilla, you know? And
exactly.
I love it. I love just the way he's just like in awe of this thing.
Yeah. Exactly. No, I agree. 100%. 100%. Okay. I love the realism. I love that we're treated to an incredibly bonkers concept about a M.U.T.O, two M.U.T.Os, and the whole purpose is to mate so that, of course, they can spread thousands of M.U.T.Os across the globe. Yeah. And then this giant lizard shows up to reset the balance, to protect the world. And yet it's dealt with realistically in the sense that the way the military stepped in and tried to and was working to handle things, even just the devastation of just, you know, Godzilla walking to the first M.U.T.O fight, just that alone, like the tidal wave that he brings with him.
Yeah.
You know, just by getting up and walking to it. And then like after that initial battle, you see like buildings dilapidated, there's like chunks of buildings out, there's wreckage everywhere, and even the people are now displaced, and there's like camps set up to try and get people together, like their families together, find people, find bodies, all of that. I thought that was all incredibly realistic, way more realistic than the 1998 version of Godzilla. And it does similar things where they have Godzilla jumping through around, but I mean they evacuated almost the city almost entirely, so it robbed the stakes of it, whereas the people are in it. They don't show people dying, but you'd have to be insane not to think people died in this movie.
Oh yeah. Like between Hawaii and San Francisco, like lots of fucking people died in this.
Exactly. But it was incredibly realistic in that regard.
Even that
So
town in Nevada, when the big mother M.U.T.O wakes up, she just walks right through that town. It's destroyed. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like you could talk about the death toll in Man of Steel all day long, which they never should have mentioned, but they
yeah,
did. And yet this one, it's clear cut.
yeah,
It's a
oh, yeah,
global massacre that
yeah,
has happened here. So that's,
for sure.
I love that.
Touching on the music again that you brought up in the opening credits, the score by Alexandra Desplat in this is so perfectly haunting. It's
Hey,
just,
you.
ew, is that the cameo? Is it cameo time? Titan. Oh,
Hey, buddy.
I love how
Titan.
I love how I always go Titan, but you got headphones in, so he can't fucking hear me.
Yeah. Hold on. Say it.
Titan, Titan, Titan. Hey, buddy. Hey, wrong direction. Wrong direction.
Oh, that tripped him out. he literally he literally looked around and now he's like looking at me like, are we hanging out now?
Oh shit.
Okay, but yeah, I agree. That score, mwah,
Yeah.
that's immediately I have put that on my Spotify list, and it's actually gonna bump Fallout soundtrack for the next little while because it's so
It's
good.
just, you know what? It's not really an epic score. It's scary. Like it's got like this scary sound to it, which is perfect because this film has like a horror feel to it, genre wise.
It has to. Like it has to have it.
Like like Kong Skull Island, they go adventure mode, and King of the Monsters is like full on monster mash action flick. This has got like a lot of horror to it.
Yep. I can definitely I agree. I agree 100%. And the score is perfect. Perfect for it.
Such a good score. Right. What you got?
Okay. My next one is I love that Joe figured out that the sound was echolocation.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that it led to the Monarch group realizing that the M.U.T.O that hatched was speaking to another M.U.T O, right?
Yep.
So I love that. Like I love how, and it's piece by piece. So at first they go, "Oh, is he talking to Godzilla?" And then they're like, "No, Godzilla was just listening. So who is he talking to?" And then it's like, it's a mate. It was a mating call, right? And like right at the beginning of the movie, they show that something got out of that cavern and just went straight to Japan, and that's what caused the destruction of the plant. Now we know that it was the M.U.T O itself that did it because it wasn't ready to impregnate the woman.
Right.
I thought that was awesome, and I also like that it actually, you know, vindicated Joe in the sense that now, like he knows for a fact, 100%, he did not kill his wife, so he can die happy, even though I really, really did not like that he died. That was one of the minuses. I said there was one. There's actually two. So 98% positive, 2%. 1% is Joe dying. I It would have been much. I would have loved it better if, yes, he was like on the gurney, but they managed to get him to the hospital. And at the end of the movie, you get to see, Ford with his son and his wife Elle, and then they get to reunite with, Grandpa Joe, so that they can actually be a family because Joe has spent the last 15 years not being a part of anyone's family and essentially being a nuisance, not on purpose. He's driven to find the truth.
Yeah.
And it's sad because like regardless of how good of an actor Bryan Cranston is, which is, without question.
Yeah.
But the fact that he didn't like, yeah, he got vindicated, but he didn't get a happy ending in that sense, which I felt would have been perfect.
Yeah, that is hands down one of my major dislikes. It still is after 8, 9 viewings of this film.
Every time I watch this movie, that's the one thing too that I'm just like, oh.
You have Bryan Cranston here doing that performance, and it is wasted by killing him off the way they did. He could have, like you said, I would have had him. Okay, straight up, I would have had him injured. He goes on the ship. He gives advice to Serizawa. We could have had some nice Cranston Watanabe play going on there because never did they really share a scene in the movie. You know,
okay,
they never really did.
No, they don't. I agree.
Watch them through the office there. And then we could have had Aaron Taylor Johnson hopping on the train or whatever because he knows all about bombs and shit. Goes off on that. We could have had Bryan Cranston end up in San Francisco with Elizabeth Olsen because she kind of disappears in the third act. Like she's like they let her son go. She stays behind and then she does nothing. She hides and you don't see her again.
Yeah, exactly.
We could have had a whole different third act with Bryan Cranston on the ground there with the son and her getting to know his son's wife and his grandson.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I agree with that.
Died saving her, you know?
Yep. That's also, that would have been a good way to go too. Yeah, if you're going to kill him off, have him go out saving the family he's never really known, right? So yeah, okay. You know, I still think he shouldn't have died though. Period.
He should have died. Aaron Taylor Johnson, though, I mean, like, I laugh because I know he's like, you know, army dude and everything, and you got your mission and stuff, but like, he just straight up takes one thing over another rather than going to fucking save his wife. You know,
that actually, it kind of bugged me how, like he forced himself into this military group that he's never worked with. Yes, he's in the military and they established that, but this particular group he's never worked with. And then he's just like, yeah, I'm better than that guy.
Yeah.
He's just like, look, man, you know, my guys have had plenty of training. He's like, have they ever stuck their finger in a live bomb before? And the guy's like,
it's what I do for a living.
He's like, well, no. And then you're like, wait, so you had untested people doing this? So, but okay, fine, whatever.
So,
but you mentioned the train sequence.
Yeah.
The train sequence is the other minus for me. That's the other % minus for me. I'm talking specifically the one at night where it's just the M.U.T.O. and it's just, for me, it's a boring sequence. It wasn't suspenseful at all for me. I kind of was like, okay, can we get through this?
Mm-hmm.
And then when, of course, like it goes all, it's up and stuff. It's like, oh, okay, all right. After that, then the movie is right back. Like if you remove that one sequence for me, then we're at 99% positive for me.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, if they would have had Bryan Cranston live, they could have cut that kind of stuff out, right? They could have went in a different direction with the characters.
You know what? That scene. No, I agree.
Like that scene is, I don't know. I don't care for it either. I don't care for
filler.
It. For one thing, I don't care that everywhere Ford is, the M.U.T.Os are. Like he's a M.U.T.O magnet.
You know, I mean,
wherever I go, they're going to attack.
That part, and that's I think another reason why I don't like that sequence, because it's just like, why is the M.U.T.O here?
Yeah.
Right? Oh, because the bomb holds, you know, radioactive material so naturally. And it's just like, okay, all right. It's there for story purposes. It's like, how the hell does Lois Lane get from the middle of Ground Zero Metropolis then all the way over to the fucking train station so that she can console Superman? It's like, how did that happen so quickly? Story.
Story.
The movie wants it to happen that way. So like, and I agree. Like that sequence is, it's just one of those where I'm like, I just have to get through the next like 2 or 3 minutes. It's not even a long sequence, but it feels longer than it is.
And I don't know, like most of my negatives in this movie revolve around Ford. Like I don't mind Aaron Taylor Johnson. His character is whiny in this movie, like whiny as fuck. And his dialogue is often quite cringeworthy. Like calling up his wife that she hasn't heard from. She thinks she's dead and going, Elle, I just want you to know I love you. I was just like, what the fuck kind of dialogue is that? Bad.
Never mind that, like, she starts
Bad.
the conversation being like, "Hey, I've been calling you. Are you okay?" And he's just brushing this off. Like,
Yeah.
all he has to say is, "Look, it's hard to explain. My phone got fucked up or whatever, but like I'm trying to get to see you. I'm trying to
Yeah.
do everything I can to see you. Have you seen the news?" Like, all you have to say is, "Have you seen the news?"
Yeah. Like,
Where I was where these things started. Like, and I don't mean to make it sound so confrontational, but I agree the dialogue is a little bit like, would you
yeah,
really say this to your wife?
I just want you to know I love you. I no. Who talks
Yeah.
like that? I don't know. I don't know. Like everything regarding Ford is what bugs me most in this film. Like, how do you tell your wife to wait and then go, "Hey, you guys are gonna go fucking jump out of the sky? Let's do it!" Like, no, I'm gonna go this way because I need to get there now. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Or even like you were saying too, like he doesn't he says he wants to go and find his family to make sure they're okay, but then does everything possible not to be there to make sure that they're okay.
exactly.
Right? Like, and that's kind of where I was saying, like, so it was arrogant of his character to just be like, "Has anyone on your team ever put their finger in a live bomb?"
Yeah.
And of course, like they say no because the movie needs him to be there to be the hero. But it was just one of those where I was like, well, why wouldn't they? You know, like why wouldn't their roll call be, "Hey, anyone diffused live bombs?" And then like show of hands. Okay, great, you're with us.
Hmm.
Anyone not? Show of hands. Okay, you guys, you're plan B,
Yeah.
right? Okay, but anyway, let's see. Ooh, I love that the whole revelation of the M.U.T.O that we saw isn't in fact the only thing. It's the mate of the other M.U.T.O who's even bigger. I thought that was awesome. I loved that the communication was a mating call. I thought that the whole part was awesome. That made perfect sense.
Yeah.
Um, and I'll say this real quick too, and then you can get two right after this. I loved how in some of the shots where the M.U.T.O was flying, it almost like when they had the gliding shots,
Yeah.
it reminded me of old Godzilla movies with like Rodan and stuff like that, where because it's a dude in a costume literally being carried on fucking like old school wiring, and it's just like boom, and they do these swoop shots. So I love that a lot of the scenes, like gliding scenes, mimicked that. And because Gareth was saying that like this was definitely influenced by that movie, I can't help but feel that that was an intentional idea to put in that movie, and I thought it was awesome.
Oh yeah. No, like the M.U.T.O stuff is so great in this. So great. Like when the male first meets the female in San Francisco and she walks out of that huge fucking dust cloud. Like the oh, everything about that is just awesome. Like
Oh,
the rest of my likes are the final fight, by the way. So I don't know if you want to hop into that yet, but
um, I think okay. So I've got one more to add
okay.
because we wrapped up my dislikes, so I don't have to touch on
Yeah.
them. Um, yeah. So I will say that I loved how they teased and dragged out Godzilla's first appearance. The Jaws method, I
Yeah.
loved that it was a build, and you didn't see it right away, and you weren't assaulted with Godzilla every second of the screen, which when you watch the trailers, they actually make it you think that it is Godzilla wall to wall. You know that he's fighting something.
Yeah.
You don't know exactly what it is at the time. But you know he's fighting something, right? So then when you watch the movie, like for me, when the first creature you see is the M.U.T.O and not Godzilla, I was like, oh, I like that. I like that they make you think it's Godzilla, but it's not. And Michelle did the same thing. She was watching it and she's like, that's Godzilla, right? And I was like, look, I can't answer any questions now because it's gonna wreck plots, right?
Yeah.
Then when they start showing the M.U.T.O coming up, and she's like, "What the fuck?" And when it gets out, and she's just kind of like, I'm like, "I bet you, no, I can't remember what I said. It was something like, I bet you don't think that's Godzilla now, eh?" And she's just like, "No, I don't know what the fuck that is." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, and
It's true, right? Because you totally think it's going to be Godzilla. It's in Japan.
100% you
In
do.
Japan, it's at a nuclear plant. Like
Exactly.
it's
It's
got to
like
be
check,
Godzilla.
check, and check it. How
Yeah,
could it not be Godzilla? And then when it isn't, you're like, holy shit. And then when you do finally see Godzilla, and you mentioned it earlier, it starts with like the ocean, like the tide being brought back in, and you're like, what the fuck? But at that point now, you're like, is this Godzilla? Like, are we gonna see Godzilla? And then it's like, you know, they show the M.U.T.O, then they show the tidal wave, then they show the flames, and then they show the foot just step down, and that's when you're like, oh yeah, now we see it. And then when they do show it for the first time, it's a fucking like yes moment. It's one of those like, fuck yeah,
yeah.
kill that thing,
And you had
take
all
that
those
thing
little
out.
teases too, right? All those little teases up to that point, like you see him go under the ships when Serizawa's watching, right? He goes under the ship. And then when he gets to land and they're all shooting the flares up, and you just see the flares reflecting off of the spiky back, and you hear
Oh,
just that rumble, like that growl, and
so good. So good. It was
I, I
so
love,
satisfying.
I love the way this movie is shot.
And I
Love it.
loved that I got to see this in the theater. Like that I chose that I was like, no, 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 I'm gonna
Yeah,
see this in the theater.
yeah,
This wasn't one of those movies where I look back and go, I probably should have saw this in the theater. I was like, yes, I saw this in the theater.
oh,
And
oh yeah. No, go ahead.
oh, what I was gonna say was if they re-release this in the theater, I'll bundle up. I will bundle up in like the most hazmat suit possible. I'll see it in the theater.
Yeah. Oh man, theaters reopen before Godzilla versus Kong. I'm probably going to chance the theater for that.
I was thinking about it because like I was already mentally preparing to chance for James Bond. I
Yeah,
was literally like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go. I'm gonna sit 6 chairs in between Kenneth and me, and I'm gonna go
yeah.
and I'm gonna cough on people in my, in my immediate vicinity so they stay away from me. You know.
Oh man.
But so yeah, like while I'm it's bittersweet they pushed that movie, but I am kind of glad.
I was going to say the bridge scene in this is friggin' awesome too. When you arrive
Love
at
that
San
scene.
Francisco and the kids, that bus driver, that bus driver,
Everyone's like, just stay there, and the bus driver's like, fuck that shit.
yeah.
Like, I'm just move, get the fuck out of the way. I was like, oh man, that's awesome. That's awesome. You know, there's so many awesome sequences in this movie. Like, well, even the Nevada sequence is incredible.
Yep.
The initial Tokyo sequence is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course the San Francisco, the entire end of the climax of the film, where like now it's in San Francisco, and this is where the main battle is taking place. You know, everything there is perfect. There's not one thing that I would change about that. Like even though Ford's not the best character in best written or whatever,
Yeah.
I like that he killed the M.U.T.O babies.
Yeah.
Like he literally was like, no, 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 they're all taken off, and he's just like, nope, I got to do this, and he almost dies doing it. I thought that was awesome. It was really cool. At least in that regard, because the M.U.T.O mom knows that he killed the babies. At least when he's tracking them on the boat later,
Yeah.
you're not just like, what? How the fuck does that happen?
Yeah.
But so I'm in the same boat as you. So now we're at the battle. Last battle, final battle was incredible. It was so good. They did it in such a way that you actually thought he might lose.
Every time they were about to fight in this movie and the camera cut, I know there was a ton of people online pissed about it. Like pissed.
Oh yeah.
I like it, and I still like it because I believe you need to have human characters in a successful kaiju movie because you need to have that human, interaction. You need to put
You have to
yourself
have
in
something that you can relate to.
Yeah, if you just watch two monsters beat each other up for 2 hours, it's going to be cool, but it's going to be forgettable. You need to have those.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So like, and I agree completely. You absolutely have to have that. And you also have to have likable protagonists too.
Yes.
That was my problem with Skull Island.
Yeah.
I could care less about those two. And they're good actors. Like they really are. Like Brie Larson is great. I love her.
Yep.
You know, Tom Hiddleston is fucking amazing. Like he's another great actor.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't fucking stand him. Now maybe that might change when I watch Kong Skull Island again. I hope it does. I really hope it does. I hope it's one of those things where I just wasn't in the mood to watch it. I really do. I'm gonna fingers crossed. I'm not hoping or that hopeful, but I do hope that it does change. But this final battle was awesome, and I think the reason why this final battle was so awesome, in my opinion, was because much like they teased Godzilla's appearance in this movie, they teased the battles as well. So you had, and it's like I was saying in our Royal Rumble Camcast, is where, well, Godzilla got knocked down a couple of times because you have to knock the hero back a bit so that when the hero does finally win, it's cathartic. You're like, yes. Oh, so I don't think the ending would have been as impactful on the boat where the M.U.T.O is about to kill Ford, and then there's that loud crunch and it stops, and then you see Godzilla grab it, like fling it around, open his fucking mouth, and then let loose the atomic breath.
Yeah.
I remembered it, but I didn't remember it like as being, because like we watched it last night and I was like, oh fuck, because he just like, I was like, what's he gonna do? Because I forgot that he didn't spend the whole movie shooting his atomic breath, which again, and I know there was complaints about that too. They were like, he does it once the whole movie, but I was like, yeah, and he won.
Yeah.
Like,
He does it. I mean, he does it twice. The first time he does it is awesome.
sorry, yeah, that's right. He does it twice.
Again, we're with Brody on the ground level, and then he just sees his
That's right.
spine start lighting up.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. He does do it twice. I forgot about that. It was a mind fuck or blank there, but
Yeah.
I think the last one was just so good. Like it was
the
cool to
last
see him
one's
do
great.
it, but that oh.
And then he's just holding the head and throws it.
And then he fucking takes a nap.
Yeah, then he takes a nap.
He's like, he falls down. But they do a good job of making you sympathetic for Godzilla as well too, because like they show the M.U.T.Os just tag teaming him and beating him, and like, you know, he's crying out in pain and stuff. And they even have him like even when he takes a nap, they make it seem as if he died fighting. Like he once he was done, then he was like, okay, I'm good. I can die now. I can, you know. Yeah. But then then he gets up and he goes back to where he came, and that's it.
And that's so great too. Like Serizawa's there with him, and then the eye opens, and he's just looking into the eye of Godzilla, and then just gets up, and then just walks in, and then just like this quiet little disappearance.
Yep.
Of the back, and then credits, and I was just like, that is even a perfect way to fucking end it. Like perfect opening credits.
Yeah.
Perfect way to lead into the end credits.
Oh, so good. So good. It's again, I'm in that same scenario that I'm in a lot of times in the last our Zoom cast, is that I forgot how good this movie was. So again, I forgot how good this movie was. I forgot how much I loved this movie. I didn't forget how much I didn't like the train sequence or, you know, Cranston dying. I will never forget those because I really don't like those, and it's weird. Like the train sequence, like you said, it's superfluous. Like if you take it out, you lose nothing from the movie.
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. But keeping it in adds absolutely nothing. Like, nothing is added by that sequence.
Yeah.
But overall, like, I mean, like for a guy that's not necessarily like, I'm not the hugest monster movie fan, like giant kaiju monster movies, not the hugest one. but when they're done really good, I can definitely appreciate it. And this one was done really good,
Hmm.
really, really good. So fingers crossed for Kong Skull Island and for Godzilla King of Monsters.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. I hope they're both just as good as this one.
Hey,
And then, of
have you
course,
seen King of the Monsters?
I actually watched about a half an hour of it.
Oh,
And I was like, I know I should put this more, but it was also like I think like 12:31 in the morning or something like that.
oh, okay, yeah,
So it was another one of those where I was like, I I know I got to get past this half an hour,
yeah.
you know, and then I just never did. I never did.
Okay, well, so you're basically watching it for the first time.
Yeah, definitely, basically
Cool.
watching it for the first time,
Right on.
which is fine. I mean, whatever. I'm
Yeah,
sure I'll like it.
it's
I don't
good.
know if I'll like it as much as this one.
No, I mean, I
It's
really,
a different director, though, right?
yeah, it's actually Michael Dougherty that did Krampus.
Ooh, okay. So it'll be well shot.
Yep.
Well shot.
Hmm.
It might have what is it? Sequelitis with a side order of studio interference.
I don't think there was any studio interference, but it's jam packed. Like they're like, oh, who can we get from Toho? Everyone. Let's put everyone into this movie.
Ooh, okay.
Put them all,
Oh, all right. Except for Mecha Godzilla.
except for Mecha. Let's save him.
Let's save him and make it the most obvious tease in Godzilla versus Kong.
Yeah. Oh.
Ooh.
So yeah, we are gonna do the MonsterVerse movies right up to Godzilla versus Kong. I'm excited. I am excited.
I just hope that we haven't peaked with this movie. I honestly, all jokes aside, I do hope that when I watch Kong Skull, because I was a fan of King Kong too. I liked King Kong. Um, it's that whole childlike thing, like because I watched them when I was a kid, so I can appreciate them now. But I want to like Kong Skull Island. I hope that I do. I hope that it's not just Thomas C. Riley that's the standout for me
Hmm.
because and also I do have to finish the movie because I never finished it the first time around. I couldn't do it.
Okay, well that would help.
I couldn't. I tried hard, but I was like, nope.
I watched Skull Island on the IMAX when I was in BC,
Ooh, look at
and
you, high roller.
I really enjoyed it, but I was also kind of disappointed by it. But I don't know if I was actually. My problem was I was comparing it to the original Kong, and this isn't King Kong by any means. This is not the Kong from '33 or 2005 or even '77. This is a completely different Godzilla
I
size.
think that's what tripped me out too because I was right, like, and I think that's part of the problem because I was trying to place it, and I was like, because they build this like a prequel,
Yeah.
so I was like, okay, so it's before Peter Jackson's King Kong, but then when you watch the movie, you're like, that doesn't make any
It's
sense.
a prequel to this movie, Godzilla. Not connected at all to the other King Kong movies.
Which, had I known that, I think I probably would have been a little bit more forgiving.
No,
Because, like,
that's why Kong is big enough to fight Godzilla now in modern time because this movie took place in the '70s, and they said he's still a child in this movie.
oh, okay, yeah. So, yeah, because that's what threw me. Because then I was like, it's set in the '70s. Like, this
Yeah,
doesn't jive, son.
yeah. So
But okay, all right.
so keep that in mind. Well,
I will definitely keep that in mind this time around. I don't think my opinion will change on the characters of Brie Larson and Tom Hiddleston though, because
mhm.
I remember I was like, what, like, why would they go this route? Because it seemed like neither of them were likable in my opinion. I'm hoping that my mind gets changed this
You know
time
what?
around.
We'll talk about it, but I got to say the fact that Hiddleston is a tracker and Larson is a photographer, and neither one of them tracks or photographer or take pictures of anything in the movie.
What?
Right? What?
That doesn't. But it's funny because you nailed it. Like right away, I was like, okay, so he's a tracker, she's a photographer, and then I was like, let me guess, they're gonna hate each other, but then they'll hook up by the end of the movie. And then towards like, I think I was about almost a third of the way through, and I was like, I can't do this. I can't. This is so hard. Like, I remember saying to you that the only character I really cared to see was Thomas C. Riley, but there's
Not,
no way that that can sustain the whole movie.
yeah. No, he's hilarious in that movie.
But anyway, so I'll stop shitting on that movie until I actually watch it
We'll
again.
get to it. We'll get to it.
And then I guess in 2 weeks' time,
Mm-hmm.
we will have that movie to talk about.
Heck yeah.
No, next week. It's not 2 weeks' time. It's
Heck
next week.
yeah. It'll go live in about 2 weeks, though.
Yeah, it'll go live in 2 weeks, but I will see you next week.
Yeah.
Instead of waiting 2 weeks.
I'll see you. We will see each other. Do not fret.
All right, so I did the last outro. You're up, buddy.
Ooh, I'm up.
Yep. Don't fuck
It's been
up.
a while. It's been a while. Let's see.
It's been a while.
See if I can remember this. Oh,
I think you'll do good. I think you'll do good.
if you like this video today, you can catch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Watch us right here. You see our handsome faces on YouTube, or you can listen to us as a podcast on SoundCloud. See, I threw it off. I was going too good. SoundCloud,
You were forcing it.
Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Also, geekpantsmedia.com, where we have articles, but not lately.
No, I'm gonna say this on our Camcast for the record. I'm toying with an article about Spider-Man or Captain America. Haven't decided which one I'm gonna do, or if I'm gonna do it. But I'm toying with the idea. So at least on record, I have something in the works. So
he's got something in his mind that you may or may not ever see.
the last one I wrote, I think I said I was going to write something, and you had the website up for like a year. So it was a year in the making.
Yeah.
So I still got some time. I still got some.
It was worth the wait.
It was. I'm proud of that one. It was really good. It was a really good one.
Yes, I love that one.
And you know what, guys? As always, we thank you so much for joining us. We know that it's a weird world that we're living in these days. So anytime that you take to hang out with us, we really appreciate it. That's really all I can say. Is just thank you so much for joining us while we do this.
And
We
I totally
appreciate it.
agree with Chris on absolutely everything.